The autumn wind carried whispers of change through Central Park as Commander Vexara's cloaked ship settled silently among the trees. The Zalaxian warrior had visited 1,000 worlds, but Earth made her scales tingle with an unfamiliar sensation. Perhaps it was the way the planet's magnetic field interfered with her biosensors, or maybe it was the peculiar mix of primitive technology and unexpected advancement that her initial scans revealed. Her crystalline armor adjusted to Earth's atmosphere, its surface shifting from obsidian black to a subtle gray that blended with the morning mist. The mission parameters were clear: assess Earth's military capabilities and determine whether humans posed a threat to galactic stability. The Zalaxian High Command had observed their rapid technological advancement with growing concern. Vexara's four-fingered hand brushed against the bark of an ancient oak tree, her sensitive scales detecting its age through the rough surface. 342 solar cycles, her mind calculated automatically. The tree had stood here longer than many civilizations she'd encountered had existed. The park was nearly empty at this early hour, save for a few humans jogging along distant paths, their breath visible in the cool air. Vexara's tactical display highlighted their heat signatures, analyzing their movement patterns for any sign of military training. So far, they seemed disappointingly civilian. A flash of red caught her attention. Not the red of human technology or weapons, but something organic vibrant. A northern cardinal, her database supplied, had landed on a branch near her head. The bird tilted its head, studying her with one black eye, then the other. Vexara remained perfectly still, her warrior training kicking in automatically. But the cardinal didn't flee. Instead, it hopped closer, its movements quick and precise. Vexara's sensor suite whirred silently, analyzing the creature. No significant defensive capabilities. No obvious weapons. Minimal intelligence. Yet it approached her without fear, this tiny being of flesh and feathers confronting a warrior whose armor could withstand plasma blasts. The bird chirped, a simple sound that somehow bypassed all of Vexara's tactical training. She found herself chirping back, her vocal synthesizer perfectly mimicking the sound. The cardinal hopped even closer, now barely an arm's length away. Fascinating, she whispered in her native tongue, the word coming out as a series of clicking sounds. A sudden explosion shattered the moment. The cardinal took flight, disappearing into the canopy as Vexara spun toward the sound. Her tactical display filled with data, a gas line rupture in a building 2 kilometers away. Her sensors detected human emergency vehicles already responding. But something else caught her attention. Hidden beneath the chaos, her instruments detected an energy signature that shouldn't exist on Earth. Kordathi technology. Her ancient enemies had somehow arrived before her. Captain Diana Torres of the United Nations Extraterrestrial Response Unit was already on scene when Vexara arrived. The human stood confidently despite being dwarfed by the Zalaxian's height, her dark eyes sharp and calculating. "Your cloaking technology isn't as perfect as you think," Torres said by way of greeting. "We've been tracking you since you entered the atmosphere." Vexara's outer scales shifted color slightly, a sign of surprise she couldn't quite suppress. "Then you know I come alone, and not as an advanced scout for an invasion force." Torres nodded, her hand resting casually on her sidearm. "What we don't know is why a Zalaxian warrior would risk revealing herself to save civilians from a gas explosion." "Because it wasn't a gas explosion," Vexara replied, her translator converting her clicks and whistles into smooth English. "Your world has been infiltrated by the Kordathi. They're an aggressive species that specializes in destabilizing developing worlds before conquest." Torres's expression hardened. And I suppose you're here to protect us out of the goodness of your heart. Vexara's mind flashed back to the Cardinal, to its fearless approach and simple trust. I'm here because your species is unique. You develop at an unprecedented rate. You show remarkable adaptability. And yet, she paused, searching for the right words. And yet you retain an innocence that my people lost millennia ago. Innocence doesn't win wars, Taurus countered. No, Vexara agreed, her armor shifting to reveal more of her scaled face. But it might be worth protecting. As emergency vehicles wailed in the distance and humans scrambled to respond to what they thought was an accident, Vexara made a decision that would alter the course of two civilizations. She began transmitting tactical data about the Kordathi to Taurus's device. The Cardinal returned, landing on a nearby railing. It watched the alien and human with bright eyes as they began planning Earth's defense, its presence a reminder of the unexpected connection that had led to this moment. Sometimes, Vexara realized, the smallest beings could catalyze the largest changes. The United Nations Extraterrestrial Command Center buzzed with activity as Vexara's holographic displays filled the air with shimmering data. Her crystalline armor reflected the blue glow of Earth technology, creating dancing patterns on the reinforced walls. Captain Taurus stood beside her, studying the three-dimensional map of Kordathi infiltration points across the globe. They've established 19 sleeper cells, Vexara explained, her translator making the clicking sounds of her native tongue sound almost melodious. Each one disguised as a new tech startup or research facility. Classic Kordathi strategy, hide in plain sight while gathering intelligence. General Marcus Harrison, a weathered veteran with steel-grey hair, leaned forward in his chair. And we're supposed to trust that your intelligence is accurate. For all we know, this could be a Zalaxian ploy to gain access to our military infrastructure. Vexara's scales rippled with a pattern that her species used to indicate patience with the ignorant. If we wanted to conquer Earth, we wouldn't need subterfuge. Your most advanced weapons would barely scratch my personal shields. Then why help us at all? Lieutenant Reg Patel asked from his station at the global monitoring system. His fingers flew over holographic keyboards, cross-referencing Vexara's data with Earth's satellite surveillance. Before Vexara could answer, Taurus spoke up. Because she sees something in us worth preserving. Her eyes met Vexara's compound ones. Something her own people might have lost. The room fell silent as Vexara's armor shifted, revealing more of her iridescent scales. Your species is paradoxical. You wage wars over invisible lines on maps, yet you create art that moves beings across the galaxy to tears. You poison your oceans, but fight desperately to save endangered species. You're capable of both tremendous cruelty and extraordinary kindness, often in the same moment. Harrison snorted. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement. It's not meant to be, Vexara replied. It's an observation. The Kordathi see only your potential for violence, your rapid technological advancement. They fear what you might become, but I've seen something else. Her holographic display shifted to show footage from Central Park, captured by her armor's sensors. The Cardinal landed again and again, fearless before an alien warrior. Your world still contains beings that approach the unknown with curiosity rather than fear. That's rare in our galaxy, rarer than you might imagine. Lieutenant Petal's console suddenly erupted with alerts. Multiple energy signatures detected. They matched the Kordathi pattern you showed us. The room burst into action. Harrison barked orders as Torres moved to the central command station. Vexara's armor hummed to full combat readiness, its surface hardening into geometric patterns designed to deflect energy weapons. "They're activating simultaneously," Torres reported, her voice tight. "All 19 locations." "No," Vexara corrected, her sensor suite providing more detailed data. 20 locations. "They've established a new cell we didn't detect." Her scales darkened with concern. "It's 3 kilometers from here." The building's lights flickered as an electromagnetic pulse rippled through the city. Emergency sirens began to wail as New York's power grid fluctuated under the strain of whatever the Kordathi were activating. "This is it," Harrison growled. "The invasion begins." But Vexara's attention was focused on something else. Her sensors had detected a familiar energy signature approaching the building at high speed. "Not an invasion," she said, her translator struggling to convey the dread in her voice. A purge. The wall exploded inward as a Kordathi warform burst through, its biomechanical body shifting and adapting to the environment. It stood 3 meters tall, its surface a writhing mass of organic metal. More followed behind it, their forms twisted parodies of Earth's predatory species. Torres drew her sidearm, knowing it would be useless against such advanced technology. What do they want? Vexara stepped forward, her armor expanding to create a shield between the humans and the Kordathi. "They want to ensure Earth never reaches its potential. They want to sterilize your world before you can become a threat." She activated her combat systems, energy gathering around her crystalline gauntlets. "But they'll have to go through me first." The lead Kordathi spoke, its voice a grinding metallic screech that the human's translation software couldn't process. But Vexara understood. They were offering her a choice. Stand aside and let them complete their mission, or die defending a species that might one day become as destructive as the Kordathi themselves. Vexara thought of the Cardinal, of its simple trust and courage. She thought of the art and music humans had created, of their contradictions and their potential. Her answer came in the form of a plasma burst that struck the lead Kordathi squarely in its central mass. The battle for Earth's future had begun, and it would be fought not just with advanced weapons, but with the ideology of preservation versus destruction, of fear versus hope. As Torres ordered the evacuation of non-essential personnel, she caught a glimpse of something through the broken wall, a flash of red feathers against the chaos, a cardinal flying free in the face of catastrophe. The sight strengthened her resolve. Earth would not fall. Not today. Not while humanity had found an ally who saw beyond their flaws to their potential. The real question was, would that potential be realized in time to save them all? The skies above New York blazed with otherworldly light as Kordathi warforms engaged Vexara's defensive systems. Her crystalline armor had deployed a web of energy shields that protected not just the command center, but 3 city blocks around it. Behind these shields, Captain Torres coordinated Earth's first organized response to an alien invasion. Pacific Command reports Kordathi attacks in Singapore and Sydney, Lieutenant Petel called out, his voice steady despite the chaos. European forces are engaged in London, Paris, and Berlin. They're hitting every major technology center simultaneously. Vexara's combat protocols automatically adjusted to the Kordathi's attack patterns, but something felt wrong. Their tactics were too obvious, too direct. The Kordathi were known for subtlety, for striking from unexpected angles. This frontal assault wasn't their style. Captain Torres, she called out while deflecting another energy blast. "I need access to your global sensor network." Torres didn't hesitate. "Petel, give her whatever she needs." As Vexara's systems interfaced with Earth's satellites, a disturbing pattern emerged. The Kordathi attacks, while devastating, were all focused on visible targets. population centers, military installations, but their energy signatures suggested they were operating at reduced power. "It's a diversion," Vexara announced, her scales darkening with urgency. "These attacks are meant to draw attention while they implement their real plan." Arison, who had been coordinating with other military commands, looked up sharply. "What real plan?" Before Vexara could answer, the ground beneath them trembled. Not from bombardment, but from something deep below. Her sensors detected massive energy spikes from locations that shouldn't exist. Hundreds of them, scattered across Earth's tectonic plate boundaries. "They're not trying to destroy your cities," she said, her translator struggling to convey her horror. "They're trying to destroy your planet. These attacks are just keeping us busy while their seismic destabilizers activate." Taurus's face paled. "They've been here longer than you thought." "Much longer," Vexara confirmed. "Possibly decades. The technology startups were never their real bases. They've been building these devices since before your species split the atom." A new holographic display showed the network of Kordathi devices, each one positioned to trigger catastrophic geological events. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunami-generating seafloor collapses. If they all activated at once, Earth's crust would effectively tear itself apart. "Can we stop them?" Taurus asked. Vexara's combat systems calculated possibilities at quantum speeds. "Not conventionally. Each device is too well protected. Even if we could reach them all, we'd never get to them in time." "Then unconventionally," Taurus insisted. "You said earlier that humanity is paradoxical, that we think differently than other species. So think differently now. Help us save ourselves." As if in response to her words, a cardinal, perhaps the same one from Central Park, perhaps another, landed on the broken windowsill. It watched the battle outside with casual interest, completely unfazed by the apocalyptic light show. Vexara's compound eyes focused on the bird, and suddenly she understood. "Your planet's biosphere," she said. "It's not just decoration. It's a weapon." "What do you mean?" Harrison demanded. The Kordathi based their calculations on standard planetary compositions. But Earth is different. Your planet's magnetic field, its atmospheric composition, even its bacterial life, they're all part of an interconnected system that's far more complex than the Kordathi realized. Her fingers flew over holographic controls as she interfaced more deeply with Earth's systems. "If we can trigger a targeted electromagnetic pulse using your planet's own magnetic field, we might be able to disrupt their network before it fully activates." "That's impossible," Patel protested. "We don't have that kind of control over Earth's magnetic field." "No," Vexara agreed, "but I have something better." Her armor began to reconfigure itself, crystal segments shifting and realigning. "My ship's drive core uses similar principles to the Earth's magnetic dynamo. If I can synchronize it with your planet's field and overload it." "You'll destroy your only way off Earth," Taurus realized. "Yes." Vexara's scales rippled with determination. "But I'll save your world." The cardinal chirped once and took flight, disappearing into the chaos outside. Vexara watched it go, understanding now why these small creatures had survived so many of Earth's past cataclysms. They didn't fight the impossible. They simply adapted and endured. "Do it," Taurus ordered, recognizing the weight of the moment. She turned to her staff. "Alert all commands. Tell them to prepare for a massive electromagnetic event. Anything that can be shielded, shield it. Anything that can't, power it down." As Vexara began the complex process of synchronizing her ship's systems with Earth's magnetic field, She realized that this moment would define not just humanity's future, but her own. She had come to Earth to assess whether humans were a threat. Instead, she had found something worth sacrificing everything to preserve. The air began to crackle with electromagnetic energy as her ship's drive core powered up for its final task. Outside, the Kordathi attacks intensified, as if they sensed what she was attempting. But it was too late. The Cardinal's lesson had been learned. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from fighting, but from understanding the true nature of things. And Earth, for all its contradictions and chaos, had a nature worth preserving. The electromagnetic storm that erupted over Earth's skies was unlike anything in recorded human history. Vexara's ship, hovering in low orbit, pulsed with energy that merged with the planet's magnetic field. The Kordathi warforms faltered, their biomechanical systems struggling against the rising tide of electromagnetic chaos. Power levels at 200% of maximum safe threshold, Vexara announced, her crystalline armor now glowing with an intense inner light. The magnetic field is beginning to cascade. Torres stood at her command station, watching as cities around the world reported the effects. "How long until total coverage?" 3 minutes, Vexara replied. "But my ship's containment systems are failing. We'll have less than 30 seconds after the pulse to shut down the Kordathi network." Lieutenant Petal's hands flew over his console. "I'm coordinating with every major military installation. The moment their systems go down, we strike." The Kordathi seemed to sense their impending doom. Their attacks became desperate, savage. A massive warform burst through Vexara's weakening shields, its metallic limbs reconfiguring into weapons. Before it could strike, Torres emptied her sidearm into its central mass. The bullets did no damage, but the distraction allowed Vexara to impale it with a shard of her own crystalline armor. 15 seconds. Petal called out. Vexara's scales rippled with pain as her armor began to fracture, the strain of channeling so much energy taking its toll. "The pulse will destroy most of your technology," she warned. "Your civilization will need time to recover." "Better than having no civilization at all," Harrison growled, coordinating the final preparations. The pulse hit with the force of 1,000 lightning strikes. Around the world, electrical systems failed. Cities went dark. The Kordathi warforms collapsed, their complex biomechanical systems overloaded. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, their seismic devices sparked and died. In the sudden darkness, a familiar chirp echoed through the broken windows of the command center. The Cardinal had returned, perching calmly amidst the destruction as if nothing had changed. Now, Torres ordered into her backup radio. Around the world, military forces moved in with simple electromagnetic hardened weapons. The Kordathi, their advanced technology rendered useless, fell before the combined might of humanity's armies. Dawn broke over a changed Earth. Cities lay in darkness, but they had not fallen. The Kordathi threat had been neutralized, their centuries of planning undone by the very complexity they had failed to understand. In Central Park, where it had all begun, Vexara stood with Torres, watching the sunrise. The Zalaxian's armor was cracked and dulled, but her scales still shifted with life and purpose. "Your people will recover quickly," Vexara observed. "Already, I see them adapting, helping each other, rebuilding." Torres nodded. "That's what we do. We fall, we get up, we learn, we grow. Sometimes we even surprise ourselves." A flock of cardinals flew overhead, their red feathers catching the morning light. Vexara watched them with her compound eyes, understanding now what her people had forgotten over their millennia of technological advancement. The Zalaxian High Command will want to know why I destroyed my ship to save Earth, she said. They'll want to know if humans are truly worth protecting. And what will you tell them? Vexara's scales shifted to a pattern that humans would later learn meant profound respect. I will tell them that humanity's greatest strength isn't in your weapons or your technology. It's in your ability to face the unknown without losing your capacity for wonder. Like that cardinal, you approach the universe with both courage and curiosity. She turned to Taurus. My people will come, not as conquerors or judges, but as allies. Earth has proven itself not by mastering destruction, but by preserving life in all its complex glory. Taurus smiled. And you'll stay? Help us prepare. Yes, Vexara replied, watching as more birds joined the morning chorus. I have much to learn from your world, and perhaps together we can build something new, a bridge between the stars based not on fear or power, but on understanding. As the sun rose higher, human emergency crews worked to restore power to their cities. Scientists began studying the fallen Kordathi technology, learning from their adversaries' mistakes. And in parks and gardens across the world, cardinals continued their songs, unaware that they had helped save humanity by teaching an alien warrior about the true nature of strength. Vexara's crystalline armor absorbed the morning light, beginning its slow self-repair process. She had lost her ship, her direct connection to her people, but she had gained something far more valuable, a new perspective on what it meant to be truly advanced. The cardinal that had first greeted her landed nearby, tilting its head in that curious way. This time, when Vexara chirped back, it wasn't through her translator. She had learned to make the sound herself, a small but significant bridge between two very different forms of life. Torres watched the interaction with amusement. You know, when they write about this in history books, they'll probably focus on the battles, the technology, the near destruction of Earth. But it really began with a bird, didn't it? Yes, Vexara agreed, her scales shimmering with what humans would come to recognize as joy. Sometimes the smallest beings teach the largest truths. Your Earth has shown me that true strength lies not in domination, but in the courage to remain open to wonder, even in the face of the unknown. As humanity began its recovery, a new chapter in Earth's history was beginning. The cardinals still sang their morning songs, but now they sang them to both human and alien ears, a reminder that in the vast cosmos, understanding often comes from the most unexpected sources. The end.